Hey guys, it's Katie at scrappingkatie.ctmh.com, and today's video has to do with the letter E in my Everyday Moments A through Z video series. It will be featuring the envelope layout in the Everyday Moments Cricut Collection. So let's take a look at what I've created. So here is a look at the envelope layout on my design space, and I am going to try to go through the cuts really quick. Right here, the photo corners, I'm going to change the color of those in the sync feature instead of dragging and dropping them on the mats. And then that way I can have just a little fewer mats to cut. So I am just dragging those 3 lines by each of those photo corners, dragging them up to the. So I'm going to combine just a couple of mats and then take those photo corners on this mat and drag all the way to the right side so it'll be easy for me to lay that different color of pattern paper over there. So off camera, I've gone ahead and cut the large envelope and some other images. And right here, I'm just cutting a piece of peach cardstock to size for the small envelope, and I've cut that as well. And then I'm going to send some more images to the cutter. Here is where I have grouped all the photo corners together. This pattern paper that I'm cutting right now is very old, from close to my heart, but I just felt that it went really well. That barn red, which is a color that we don't even have anymore, goes really well with the yesterday and today paper that I am using. And so I cut that. While that is cutting on my Cricut, I like to multitask. So I am taking some more pattern paper from the yesterday and today, as well as the white cardstock, and I am cutting all my 3x4 photo mats. So these white daisies are cut true to size, 4x6 and 3x4, and then that pattern paper was 4¼ by 3¼ Here are all those lovely photo corners that I'm going to peel off, as well as some other little decorative elements to this layout. So the next thing is this beautiful mint cardstock, and it is a large journaling space, or you could put photos there, and then a couple of other little pieces. And while that is cutting, again, multitasking by edge distressing with some toffee ink and a sponge dauber, all these 3¼ by 4¼ photo mats. Then on these smaller pieces cut from that yesterday and today dark espresso patterned background and texture paper, I'm just taking an old Tombow marker from close to my heart. Any marker will do. Alcohol markers do not work though. They just really bleed on the paper and tend to tear it. So right here, I'm just going in all those little circles around that heart and making sure that none of that white shows. Again, some people like that look. I tend not to, especially on darker color of papers. And I found that these markers really, it makes it really easy to cover up those white spaces. So once I get that done, I will pull that mint paper from my Cricut mat and then start taking everything off of that. And then we'll be ready to assemble. So again, I like to save as much of the big pieces of cardstock as possible. So I've just cut those off, put them to the side of my scrap pile, and then taking all these pieces off my Cricut. So I'm just making sure I have enough photo mats cut. It looks like I have to cut another cardstock piece as well as that patterned paper. And I could have fed these through my Cricut, but I just find it's easier while other things are cutting to go ahead and cut these with my cutter. But it's totally up to you. Again, I'm going to edge distress this with a sponge dauber and toffee ink. And so now we're ready to assemble. Again, I'm just going to have my tablet over here to the left so you can kind of see what the layout is supposed to look like. And I'm just going to lay out all my pieces. If you're a follower of mine, you know that I like to do that before I start adhering down, mainly because I usually end up changing a thing or two. On this particular layout, I didn't. I loved the layout of the scrapbook page. I loved all the elements. I pretty much went with the same color scheme aside from using that canvas graph paper that's I'm using as the base of my layout. And again, that comes from the Yesterday and Today line, and I'll link that down below. So I'm just going to adhere these white pieces on that pattern background and texture paper, and then adhere these down. So anytime I'm adhering something in a row like that, I like to adhere my top and my bottom pieces first, and then center the center one, if that makes sense. This pattern paper came in handy because it's got these lines. Some of the lines are kind of crooked, but I found that these lines I was lining up to were not. So that made it pretty easy. Again, I want to back the heart in that little house with that same paper that I did the photo corners. And then this little decorative thing down here, it's a little scallop piece. I also tend to not follow directions. So I just started laying stuff down, adhering it down, and here later in the video, you'll see that I kind of decided to look at the image and see where things went. And so I have to end up tearing that house up. And when I say tear, I didn't tear it. I just lifted it up with my Cricut scraper, which is the most fabulous tool ever. It really gets in under foam tape and adhesive and allows you to lift things up that you adhered by mistake. So this large envelope is going to serve as a photo holder for a couple of photos. I chose to do the light side of the peach on the outside and the dark on the inside. I'm not sure how that's going to work yet, so I'm going to go ahead and assemble the right page and then kind of come back and do those envelopes. So right here, I'm trying to just decide which side of that right page matches that left page, since those two centers will butt up next to each other in my album. And again, I'm just going to lay everything out and see how it looks before I start adhering everything down. So on this particular layout, I don't know if you can see it on my tablet still, but it's got an oversized journaling spot. You could also add a couple of photos. And then it's got a smaller envelope that will also have some photos in it. And then it's got this little decorative doily, and then those hearts I backed with that same barn red background and texture paper to bring over that color from the heart in that house, as well as some leaves and then this ampersand symbol. So I'm just going to ink this little piece up. I will end up putting my date on that whenever I do get photos on this layout. And then, so now I'm pretty happy with everything. I'm going to start adhering everything down. On the back of this journaling piece, I did decide to put some more of that barn red paper just to kind of be consistent with the rest of the, I want to call them holes, but you know, the cutouts and all the things that I've been putting that background and texture paper in. So now we've got that. I'm going to adhere that down. It doesn't come with directions on how far from that center I need to, so I just kind of played with it and then started adhering things down. This doily is so pretty, so delicate. The majority of it's hidden. I did contemplate cutting the part that was hidden off so I could use it somewhere else, but in the end I just decided not to. So I'm going to back that heart strip with, again, that barn red paper. It's going to go right there, and then this little, I guess that's a string of leaves or whatever. It'll go kind of tucked in behind and over. I'm going to adhere this envelope down directly over that photo mat and then kind of play with that ampersand symbol. So this cute little clip kind of goes over that journaling spot. It's delicate, so you might want to use liquid adhesive. And then now I am realizing that I adhered that down too much, but it was good because I needed to edge distress that. So in the image of the layout, that envelope sits directly on top of that mint scalloped piece. So I've moved that and then added back those decorative pieces. Again, I kind of just don't know what to do with that house. So I'm going to play with this 3D foam tape, kind of cut some off, making sure that whatever hangs over that photo well does not have adhesive on it, since I will be adding my photos after the fact. I want to be able to slide my photos just in there and adhere them down. So I'm taking a look at these photo corners. I still hadn't done anything with them yet. I'm really contemplating whether I really want to use them. And then once I lay them out on that top one, it totally makes the layout. So off camera, I did those top two, and then I'm going to show you how I added them after I had already adhered that white daisy photo mat onto that patterned photo mat. So I just applied liquid adhesive around the corner on that background and texture photo mat. And then I tucked the photo corners in behind that white daisy piece. And I found that my scraper, I used my Cricut scraper to kind of lift up those corners if need be. But otherwise, I felt that they went in there pretty smoothly, and I love the look. And so there are the layouts. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe and sign up for notifications by clicking on the gray bell by the subscribe button. And don't forget to catch all the other videos in this Everyday Moments A through Z video series.